this monolith that is the CyberCon 2020, your convention fix during this COVID-19 pandemic time. We are back for the final segment of the Just Us Nerds panel of power. I'm wishing I had given that an easier name. I'm really wishing I had given it an easier name.
Yeah.
So we have our final guest here that we're going to interview, but I'd like to do give her a proper introduction. I've been teasing her constantly, but I feel like I need to give the proper introduction. So this is by her correct billing, Miss Tatiana Neva. Tatiana Neva was born and raised in St. Petersburg, Russia. She started modeling around age 14, and then later on she got involved in commercial acting. And then eventually she started focusing on her theatrical career as an actress. For the past 5 years, she has been either kicking ass on screen as one of the many superheroines on the web series Power Beatdown, or grappling with neuroses on a hilarious web series called Heroes with Issues. Tatiana has appeared on covers of a variety of magazines and has successfully transitioned into the acting world. And today she's going to be making her most triumphant return to the Just Us Nerds podcast after 2 years, Chris. You believe this? It's been this long? After 2 years. Please join me in welcoming back our favorite thespian, Miss Tatiana Neva.
Woo! Hey guys, how are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for coming.
Feeling a little frustrated with technology, if I'm going to be honest, but otherwise, I'm good.
I am with you on that. Isn't it just the name of the game? It's always like this.
This has been, I think I was telling you before that my motto with technology is when in doubt, don't touch it.
Yeah.
I'm going to write this down.
Yeah, absolutely. So welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for having time to speak with us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It seems like I have all the time in the world. So if you guys want to do it every day, I'm available.
Funny thing about that. That's kind of interesting how that works. So yes, we were talking a little bit about this before, but how does one, especially as an actor, how does one occupy oneself during a time like this when you have to be basically quarantined?
Well, as an actor, actually, I think it's probably almost easier than as an essential.
Yeah,
certainly.
Not almost, it's actually a lot easier than essential because acting involves two sides of the coin. There is an introverted part of it and an extroverted part of it. Mm-hmm. Like there is a part where you go out there and you actually perform and you play all those different characters and you participate in those projects and you do auditioning and you network and you work with people all the time. So that's the extroverted part. But then there is a part that nobody sees, and that's the part where we do a lot of studying, a lot of preparation. Believe it or not, when I'm watching movies, that's not my leisure time. That's me technically working. It's just that I love my job. Yeah. And I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of researching. I've been rewatching the shows and the movies that I needed to see again, kind of like doing and not just watching them, like doing my homework, doing my, like research on the characters in projects, doing extensive, like deep kind of like dive into what were they trying to do with this. Sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I will rewind several times on the same moment to see all those different aspects of it, whether it has to do with acting part of it or filmmaking part of it. So
you're sort of studying the masters. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. Like kind of just like understanding, like the same movie, you can watch it with several different goals in mind, and every time you will see it completely differently. I just rewatched the entire Matrix trilogy.
Oh yeah.
And oh my God, I've seen it a lot of times before, but I have to say this time around, I've seen things I've never noticed before. And my mind is blown, guys. I was like, Oh my goodness. I also learned that there was another ending originally intended for the project, and they changed it because they felt like the ending that they have right now is more positive and people would kind of like welcome it.
Right.
But the original ending, do you want me to give you a little spoiler?
I think I've
Please.
heard this, but
I haven't, so please, yeah.
So the original script was supposed to show us that there was no real world. There was no getting out of the matrix. The Zion and all of the people in the Zion were just the people who could not live in the regular matrix because they felt like something was beyond it. And they were suspecting it to the point where they were like becoming depressed and suicidal, and they needed to do something, and they were causing a lot of trouble. So to not to dispose of those people, like to keep them as assets, what they came up with is another level of matrix. So it was actually Matrix that showed it first before Inception, a dream within a dream. But if we dig it further, it was the Nightmares on the Elm Street. Remember when Freddy Krueger would just pop out of nowhere, and you were like, "Wait a minute, the guy just woke up. What is he doing in reality?" It's not reality.
Yeah.
Things that
I think I like that ending better. I think I like that ending a little. It's a little depressing, but I think I like that ending better.
I know it's depressing. It's very depressing because like it takes all the hope out of the movie because you're like, we don't even know what the real world looks like in it. Like it might be completely different from what you showed us. Zion does not exist. The City of the Machines does not exist. What exists? We don't know.
So my wife is she's interested very much in the Buddhist philosophy, and so she's become more into this. And if a tenet in the Buddhist philosophy is this idea that we undergo this cycle of suffering that just continues on, and we are unable to escape this cycle of suffering. And I'm not sure if this was intentional on part of the Wachowskis or not, but there's actually a lot of that kind of Buddhist sort of that same premise with the Matrix, that there is this circle of suffering that we're unable to escape. So I could really see how that original ending would have fit really well with that. Let's talk about. I'd like to ask you, kind of getting into some of your recent work on with Superpower Beatdown, Heroes with Issues. I don't know if you were aware of this, but before you came on, I was sort of billing you. I said you are the Lon Chaney Jr. of your craft. Lon Chaney Jr. was the man of 1,000 faces, and you've portrayed so many different characters. Let's go through them: Wonder Woman, Domino, Harley Quinn, Gamora, Mary Jane Watson, Black Widow, and did I miss any?
Yes, I think there was Catwoman, and I portrayed more in Heroes with Issues, but this is if we just stick with the comic book characters.
Right, yes. Out of all of the comic book characters that you've portrayed so far, do you have a favorite?
I think it's Wonder Woman right now. It's always been Catwoman, but I feel like it's been kind of steering towards Wonder Woman. Yeah.
There are parallels between both of those characters. I mean, both of them they're very female empowered characters, just in slightly different ways.
Mm-hmm. I apologize about the light going in and out. I'm connected to my computer and it's doing this weird thing where it's like, going black.
It's COVID. I'm pretty sure it's COVID. The virus is everywhere. It has spread to the internet now. So I'm sure that.
I'm sorry, I just crashed you guys. This is our last official podcast, so you guys enjoyed it. Well, you can. Sorry about that.
Is there anyone that you haven't had a chance to play yet that's on your wish list? I have a follow-up question not related to comic books. So right now, let's just stick with comic book characters. Is there someone on your wish list?
Oh my goodness, everything is so delicious. Yes, there's a lot of things on my wish list. Well, one of them, and it's been one of my most requested characters, a lot of people ask me to portray her, is Xena, the warrior princess.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
I'm actually planning at some point to do Xena cosplay and do a photo shoot, which, by the way, a friend of mine is the original director of Xena, and he said that if I ever do Xena cosplay, that he will do a photo shoot with me.
Oh, there you go. That's fantastic. 100%.
Yeah, and so she was I loved her when I was a kid. Like she's one of the reasons why I am the way I am. She was like one of my role models, so to say. Another one is Red Sonja. I love Red Sonja. There was a few others. Like I always wanted to portray Celine from Underworld, and number one goal I think is still to this day to do a fight as a Catwoman.
Oh, you haven't had that yet. You haven't gotten to do that yet.
I've never done a fight as Catwoman. I portrayed her a number of times in different projects, but it was always, just acting cameos, and stuff like that. I've never in depth actually explore the character, and I would love to do that. It would be so much fun.
Okay.
I think you would do
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was gonna say I think you would. I would think you would do absolutely fantastic with that, and it showed. I'm excited to see. We want to see that fight, so I think that would be great.
Thank you so much. Yes, this would be a fight where I could, be a little more playful because the fights that I did for Beatdown were Wonder Woman, Domino, and Black Widow, and they were all really cool characters to explore. Like they have. Well, Domino and Black Widow have slightly kind of similar fighting styles. Still a little different, but Wonder Woman is different. Obviously she works with different tools and she has a different personality. But they're all serious. Mm-hmm. They're all serious characters. I would love to do a fun fight where I can tease and taunt my opponent and kind of be playful and seductive and annoying.
Yeah. You get to do a bit more. You get to have a bit more fun with some of those silly characters, like with Harley. Were you? Where am I remembering you from as Harley Quinn? Was it from Heroes with Issues?
Both. Heroes with Issues was the first time that I played Harley Quinn, and that was my very first take. That was before I found her voice. Then the last time that. The last time that I played her was in the Super Power Beatdown, and that I think was my best take on Harley to this day because I was obsessively just working on her, and it's not easy to speak with that Brooklyn accent, and I was so married to it that I hardly got out of character between the takes on set. I was basically just walking around as Harley Quinn and just messing with people, making them laugh and, just teasing them. And I was basically kind of making them question my sanity.
I part of what I enjoy doing, I've done a little bit of acting in my time. That was a long time ago, but I still kind of credit myself as an impressionist. So I enjoy doing different impressions, and just from my experience, it's very much about learning the mannerism of the character. Now, for me, impressions I'm studying someone that exists. It's a little different, I would imagine, when you're trying to create a fictional character. Mm-hmm. But there's certain kind of tricks that you have to do. Like if, for example, you wanted to start talking like Christopher Walken, you have to retreat a little bit back to your throat, and then you Chris. But it's not just about retreating to the back of your throat. It's about the cadence and the when I speak like this, but then when Chris comes back, he chooses his words very carefully.
So good.
So is that kind of the same process with you? I mean, is it studying people's mannerisms, or what is your process?
Yeah, similar. Well, for one thing, I do watch everything that I can find where I can find that sound, because the sound already exists.
Right.
I just need to find it within myself. And I change my mood. I tell myself, like I do kind of like a prep work with myself. I tell myself, who I am now and how I feel and what my, like set of principles are, like what I care about. Like I kind of like tune into the character, because like if you have the mood, you are halfway there.
Right.
If you understand what oh my gosh. I apologize.
You have a poltergeist in your house, I think.
I know. Yeah, I tried to make it work with the other camera for that very reason, because this monitor for some reason does this thing. But you know what? Let's make
Just
it
get
into
an old priest and a young priest, and you'll be fine. They just need to spray some holy water in that place. You'll be right as rain tomorrow.
Exactly.
Carol Ann, knock it off. Carol Ann, leave it alone.
I tried calling the priest, but he said he's social distancing. So.
Oh, damn it!
I know. What are you gonna do?
Looks like you're on your own then.
Okay, so I hope this is not like a huge problem. With
It's not. We've kind of been struggling with the technology issue all day. It's okay. It really is not. But
this is the biggest thing we've got to deal with.
So yeah. So basically, like to me, it's like finding my connection with the character and feeling what the character feels is half the journey there, because like your manner of thinking changes immediately once you start feeling like someone else. I mean, even as myself, as Tatiana, when I'm in different moods and different modes, so speaking to different people, the way I talk to them changes. My voice changes. Sometimes, it sounds more like affirmative and, assertive. And sometimes, like I speak with a very soft voice, and sometimes I sound like a child, like different people have like hold a different image of what and who they think I am. So if we vary so much just being ourselves, then what's there to say when you become a completely different person? And yeah, when I was working with Harley, it was the most challenging part that I've ever played, because as you can see, like you look at me and you don't immediately see Harley Quinn. I'm not, like one of those people who walks into the room and you're like, she would make a great Harley. Like, right. It would be a surprise to you if I could pull it off. In fact, the director, there was a time when he was like, you're this is not a character for you. Like you couldn't play Harley Quinn. And that is why I got so obsessed with it. I was like, is this true?
I'm going to show you wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong.
No, it's not even like, I didn't even want to per se prove him wrong. I wanted to explore. I was on a quest ever since then, because I wanted to explore, is this true that just because you're immediately, like as an actor, not suitable for a role, is it true that you couldn't even create your own version of it?
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it. I was like, I think I can do it. I don't know how, but I think I can find her. And funny enough, I didn't even like the character at first. I just didn't, because, she was this crazy clown girl who like gave herself away, gave her power away to, gave all of her loyalty to this, like, monstrous being who is like, like all kinds of wrong in that situation. Yeah. And I was just really pissed at her. I was like, how could you do this to yourself? Like, you're speaking for all women right now. Like, I have more in common originally with Catwoman and Wonder Woman, because, of how independent they are. They're independent in different ways. But they're both very independent and very strong, and they end up doing exactly what they want to do. To them, like, to give their power away to a man is unspeakable.
Right.
It's not even on a table. And that's how I always have been. But then I started analyzing the situation, and then I discovered that there is a part of me is just really deep inside that is similar to Harley, that is fun, and that is that can love without reason, that can do things for somebody that she loves that people don't understand. I've loved like this,
I think that's a very common human experience. I mean, we've all been there, where we we kind of give up something of ourselves in the name of love for someone.
Yes, yes. I'm not saying it's healthy, but I'm saying I'm familiar. I remember that.
Truth.
And so, yeah, so I went in there and I found her voice somehow. It took a while of just like trying to figure out which one am I gonna go with, because as you know, there's been a number of Harleys out there, and I didn't want to sound exactly like either one of them, but I wanted to create like a blend, and I wanted to find a good combination, because as you understand, a voice in the a cartoon, an animation, a voice in the movie by Margot Robbie, and a voice in a video game, they will all sound different.
Right.
They're not gonna sound the same, okay? And the manner of speaking is gonna be adjusted to fit that particular genre, to fit that particular format, you know? So I needed to find mine, because it was supposed to be a little more cartoony than the movie, because we were doing Beatdown, and as you know, in Super Power Beatdown, we try to recreate the character as close as possible to the comic book version, but still creating our own, the live version of it, you know? So I was like, I need to find a blend between all of them. So I basically just listened to the movie version, animation version, and to video game versions like every day. And I was speaking with them and trying to understand the melody, the rhythm, and the pacing, and, you know, how does she pronounce this and how does she pronounce that, and how do you make it a little squeaky, but not too much, because then it becomes annoying.
Right.
Would you? And I know this is a big thing to ask, so of course feel free to say no. But can you give us just a little taste of your Harley?
How are ya?
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's kind of weird, you know, like looking kind of like more like Wonder Woman.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Oh,
weird blend.
Wonderful.
Such a weird blend. But if you guys want me to try to switch to another, shall we try another camera again, or?
I'm fine with this. Actually, kind of like I sort of am liking sort of the dramatic darkness. It's like there's darkness, and then there's just it's focus on you. So we're good. We're good there.
Okay, good. If it starts to become looking too much like a nightclub and you start getting dizzy or feeling like calling an exorcist, you let me know.
Well, you just need, if it starts looking like a nightclub, you need to just have that music in the background, that constant bass.
Right?
And just low stick, you'll be fine.
You know?
So, all right. So tell us about your transition from modeling and cosplaying to acting. I mean, does this mean you'll be moving away from genre-related parts? You know, if you could travel back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
They're all related. They're all the same kind of family. They're cousins. Yeah. You know, I wouldn't say sisters. They're more like cousins, because here's the thing. There is, again, two sides to it. I started off as a model originally. I've been modeling since I was 14 years old and making my own money and buying my own ice cream. Okay.
Okay.
And my first transition was into acting. However, back then I was not pursuing acting as a career. It just so happened that on a lot of projects, whether it's TV shows or I'm gonna try to bring a little bit more light here. Is that better?
Yeah, it works.
That's gonna
You're fine.
A little. No, I guess not. Okay, I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're absolutely fine.
I guess it's just.
I'm beginning to see the perfectionism with your craft. I can understand. I'm beginning to see it. I understand now the sort of the studying and the studying of the masters. I'm beginning to see it now. And I think it's probably what makes you a talented actress is the fact that always striving to be a little bit better. Like even with something like the lighting. That's my 5-minute analysis.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I'm definitely striving to get better, even if I fail, and I keep failing, but as you can see, I keep trying to like figure out how to improve it. But again,
Well, I mean, as of right now, you've got 31 acting credits under your belt, and you had a supporting role on Mindy Kaling's the Mindy Project. So it really seems like things are taking off for you. Has there been something you've done so far that has been the most what's been the most fun for you?
Oh yeah, definitely Super Power Beatdown.
Yeah.
Like there's no contest. There's no contest. Like that was the most like fun project I think that I've ever done. And the project that I'm working on right now that is not out yet. Yeah, we were supposed to be wrapping it up like around now. So this whole pandemic thing really messed things up for us.
Right. Put it on a halt.
Is it something you can talk about? Are you allowed to share anything about it?
Rescheduled and pushed back, and so we're just kind of like doing what we can. There's always something to do, when you're an actor. You can always kind of perfect your lines and dig deeper into your character. There's never enough research. You can always do more. You can always learn more things and create more layers. But yeah, we were supposed to be filming like several different projects. Actually, I was supposed to do like a lot of my projects got pushed back, and we're just waiting for this whole thing to be over so we can just jump on it and finish them and wrap them, because there would be more credits on my IMDb right now if things didn't go sideways.
You have opportunities right now to do comedy and to do drama. Do you have a preference, and is one harder for you?
I don't have a preference, but I'm gonna say comedy is probably harder, because comedy, there's so much that it's harder to make people laugh. It's harder to make people. You have to hit the right thing at the right time, and just because you're funny and you can have like a funny conversation, because like a lot of my friends, when I talk to them, they're like, "Oh my God, you're hilarious. You should be a comedian." And I was like, when you're a comedian, it's a little different, because you have to, for one thing, write everything down that is somewhat funny. And then you have to like kind of develop it further. And then there's like so many things that need to come together. And then like you have to like channel it every single time. Like I have to say props to the stand-up comedians. They do the same act over and over and over again. That's so hard.
Right. And to still get the same laughs.
Because like when you say the same joke over and over again, like it's not funny to you anymore. And if you're not, and you having fun with it is like 50% of success, because other people are having fun with it. But if you are like telling them the joke and you're not having fun with it, like it's hard. It's hard. But I love improv, and for a while actually I was doing improv, doing the stand-up comedy acts around town, and we were the only improv group that did that. I was offered a stand-up act, and I told them, I said, I'm not a stand-up comedian. They're like, but you're really funny. And I was like, yeah, but I don't have an act. But what I can do, I can improvise. And they're like, oh, good. Can you just come out and improvise? I'm like, well, I need my team. I'm like, how many people can you stage hold? They're like, well, 4 or 5. I'm like, perfect. That's all I need. So I brought my team on board from my acting school, and we've been rocking some, comedy joints around Los Angeles for a while. And then we just all kind of got busy with our acting and stuff, and we kind of stopped doing it. But, like we did that for fun. I love doing fun things, that help me grow as an artist. Like cosplay is actually one of them. A lot of people have been seeing that I've been doing so much cosplay at some point that people started thinking that I'm a cosplayer and introducing me as one. And I was like, no, I'm still an actor. This is my hobby. It's just that I got so involved with it. And it's easier to do cosplay than acting. It takes years to create a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
It really takes a couple of years to make one movie, one film. And it doesn't matter how big or small it is. It still takes a long time, because when it's bigger, there is more to do. So yeah, they have more people working on it, but it still takes time.
Yeah.
But when it's smaller, like you have less resources, less money, less people, it takes time. Cosplay, I could throw something together today and take a selfie and post it on my social media. Within a few hours, I could have a new cosplay, pull it out of the closet. I've done that. My Mary Jane is completely cosplay closet cosplay, because yeah, and I never saw myself as Mary Jane, to be honest with you. I never like made that parallel. It was the director of Power Beatdown who looked at me and was like, you really look like Mary Jane Watson. I'm like, I don't see that. And he was like, look at the statue that I have of Mary Jane. And I looked at her and I'm like, oh my God, I have a wig like that. I have a top like that. I have a belt like that. I have jeans like that. And I have shoes like that. And next thing you know, I go home and I put all that on and I take a picture in the mirror and in the same pose as the statue. I asked him, like, can you text me the statue? Like, can you photograph it? He's like, I'm like, just text it to me. He's like, he texted to me. And I reply with a picture of me, selfie of me, mirror, dressed, and looking exactly the same. And I had no idea.
Hashtag accidental Mary Jane.
Right.
Exactly. Most of the characters, I'm going to let you in on a secret. Most of the characters that I played in Power Beatdown, except for Catwoman, I knew that I could do Catwoman. Like, that was my love since childhood. But most of the characters on the Beatdown, I had no idea that I could play Wonder Woman. It was Aaron Shonke who, discovered it, and he was like, Wonder Woman. When I played Domino, I didn't even know who Domino was. I was not familiar with the character. I had no idea. And he texted me. We were supposed to actually do another beatdown. It was supposed to be Black Widow versus Harley Quinn. And due to scheduling conflicts, it just didn't come together. So, but we needed to do something. We were ready to go into production because we were already like kind of getting ready for it, training for it, pulling resources for it. So we needed to create something. So Aaron comes up with this amazing idea of doing 2-on-2, which came out to be one of the most popular beatdowns of all time.
Yeah,
I remember that one.
Yeah, and he texts me, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking you're Domino. I'm like, pizza? Domino what?
That game, I see all those old guys playing on
the game, the pizza, like the character that Keira Knightley played in this movie like several years ago that nobody knows about. I'm like, which Domino are we talking about? He's like, no, has nothing to do with any of that. Domino is the character from Marvel, and he's like, research her. I was like, okay. So I went online and I started researching Domino, and I was like, ooh, interesting. And then I went on my page and I asked my followers for their help. I said, you guys, who knows this character? Tell me about her. What do you know about her? What do you love her for? What do you think is like her main, like traits that stand out to you? Because like I needed quickly to find her, and I didn't have a lot of time to, like read everything that there is about her. Like I've read a lot of stuff and I watched everything I could, but there was never like a live, like the Domino that we created was the first live version of her. Yeah. Like there was no live portrayal of Domino before that. So it was kind of a lot of pressure because I ultimately, myself and other people at Bet in the Sun, we always want to deliver the exact thing that people crave. Luckily, we are fans ourselves. And that is what ultimately allowed us to nail those characters. People are like, how do you always nail those characters? Well, because we love them.
Yeah.
Like, even when we don't know who they are. Like, I mean, I didn't know who Domino was, but I was like, taking it really seriously. I was like, I don't know her yet, but those other people who are going to be watching the beatdown, they do. They love her. I can't give them something that is not matching what they're used to, what they are expecting, what they would love to see. Like, I approach it every time with every character. I approach it from a position of, if I am a fan of this character, a die-hard fan of this character, what would I like to see on screen? Like, if she came to life, and I know the feeling, because there's a lot of characters that I would love to see an exact live version of. Like, for example, Little Mermaid. I want to see the exact portrayal of Little Mermaid. And I've seen some amazing cosplays, by the way. There are some cosplayers out there that really nailed the character.
And Tatiana, that actually leads perfectly into a question I have for you.
Yeah.
5 non-comic book characters, 5 or fewer non-comic book characters that you would like to put your own personal spin on.
Okay. Okay. And we're talking about non-pop culture. We're talking about
non-pop culture. This is
okay.
Yeah.
Some of them you guys are not gonna know. But are we talking
That's fine.
Are we talking about the characters that are played, or characters that I've never like even touched?
They can be characters who's never touched. They can be any character from fiction, regardless of the medium. Can be from books, can be from prior movies, can be from folklore, and whatever you like. But five characters you would love to give your own personal spin on, and they can be from anywhere.
All right. So one would be this character from the book that I read a couple of times, both in Russian and in English. It's by Joanna Lindsay, and it's called The Fires of Winter, or Winter Fire.
Okay.
There is a character in that book that, according to the description, looks exactly like me and shares pretty much the same personality.
Oh.
Very similar. She's this Celtic girl who is, who was trained by her father to be a warrior, and she basically gets, imprisoned by the Vikings, and she kind of like, her spirit doesn't break, and she kind of fights her way through, but then falls in love with her own enemy, and it has a happy ending. They turned out to become a couple, and she has, grows to love this foreign land that she tried to escape for so long. But the resilience of this girl, how passionate she is, always inspired me. I would love to play that character.
Oh, that's great.
And never been brought to screen. Never at this point, never been brought to screen at all.
No, I don't think a lot of people even know about this book. I mean, you would have to be into romantic novels to even have heard about it, because that's what it is. And I don't read romantic novels a lot. I only read a couple, and the reason why I have is because I used to have a friend who was addicted to them. And she gave me this book, and she's like, "You really need to read this. You're gonna love this so much." And I was like, I'm not much for romantic novels, it's just cheesy for me. She's like, "Just read it." And I read it, and I was like, wow, it blew my mind. I love that book so much. But as far as nonfiction characters, I would also love to portray. Have you ever heard of Eugene Onegin?
No, I haven't.
So Eugene Onegin is a famous novel by one of the most prominent, probably #1 Russian poet of all times. He's like a Russian Shakespeare, a legit genius who wrote things that are so incredible. If you could read it in a native tongue, they would blow your mind. He is the reason why I write poetry. I grew up on him. His name is Alexander Pushkin. And he wrote a lot of beautiful, poetry and a lot of books. But one in particular always captivated me is the Eugene Onegin, because the character in it, her name is Tatiana, just like mine, and she I also share similar personality traits. Like there's a side of me that is matching this character to the T. No pun intended. So I would love to play her. She was actually portrayed by Liv Tyler in the USA version of like it was actually already brought to life. I always forget the name of the actor who played Lord Voldemort in Harry Potter. Do you guys remember by any chance?
Ralph Fiennes.
Ralph Fiennes. Yeah.
Yes, he's playing Eugene Onegin. I do recommend it. It's a really well done movie. Like I really, really liked it.
Excellent. Well, Tatiana, I have to be sensitive to the time here, but I do want to ask you this question. Number one misconception you think people have about you when they first meet you?
If you're really sensitive to the time, you should know this question because there is no quick answer. There is no quick answer.
There's no okay.
Like I
Fair enough.
Here in our interview today, there is a different version of me that exists for different people. Right. Like one time I was talking to someone. There was this wonderful girl who's a good friend of mine, and she introduced me to her mother, and she's like, "Mom, remember I told you about this girl who was like this and that? Like this is her." And her mom was so like welcoming, and she was like, "Oh my God, you know, like I heard so much about you." And we started talking, and I have a really amazing relationship with this girl, and her mom like apparently heard about me a lot, and so she already kind of pre-loved me before even meeting me.
Right.
And as we were talking, like they're both really amazing people. I love the girl very much. She's a good friend. Like we had a really good conversation with the mom, and she was like, "Oh my God, my daughter is right about you. You are such an angel. You're such a wonderful person." And I smiled and I said, "You should see me with my enemies."
They would not share your opinion.
The thing is, like, I act accordingly, and some people out there think that I can do no wrong. Like they literally think that I'm a saint, and I have to remind them that I'm not, because they never provoked the part of me that would be, you know, harsh, you know, or they just never do anything to make me feel bad or to make me feel like sad, or they don't see that side of me because they never invited out. You know, how would they ever know that I can be, you know, dramatic or, you know, vulnerable, or like they just know the fun part, you know, because this is what they are to me. Like they come into my life and they make me feel good. So what are you going to see? You're going to see a happy face. So they think that this is how I am all the time. That, on the other hand, there are people who, you know, come up to me sometimes after meeting me and say, "I really thought you would be a bitch." And I'm like, at first I was like, why? They're like, "Well, you seem just so like unattainable, and like you just like have those like really like, you know, prominent features, like and like I thought like that you would be a total bitch." And I'm like, "Well, what do you think?" They're like,
you know what though?
How dare you be pretty?
It's like it's just like, I don't know. We a different version of us exists for every person that we know.
Yeah,
and that's
but
the truth.
In all honesty, like being a bitch, quote unquote, might not be such a bad thing. You know, I mean, kind of the way it looks. You're like, okay, yeah, I can be one. You can. Everybody can. It's kind of how it works. But like you said,
I can totally be harsh with somebody who deserves it. If the situation demands it, I can totally like put someone in their place. Like one time I was walking to a Ralph's and some drunk guys came up to me and I was on the phone, and, you know, I was like, you know, I'm on the phone with my boyfriend, and they were like, "Oh my God, you're so hot." And they were like giving me compliments, but like really like getting a little too close, and then like I turned and I made eye contact with the guy and I said, "You're too close right now, back off." And he's like, "Or what? Like, what are you gonna do?" I'm like, "Me? Nothing. That's what cops are for." And he was like, "Look, he looked at me. He did not expect it, because when I was on the phone, I was, you know, very like bubbly, excited, and you know, I sounded, you know, very innocent and very approachable, you know, because the person that I was on the phone with, this is how I felt with that person.
Right.
So those guys thought that I would be an easy target, so they, you know, kind of like targeted me and came up to me and tried to be like a little, like cross my boundaries. And I'm like, no. So it's like, you know, like it flips like in a second from, you know, like, what was that song by Meredith Brooks? You know, I'm a bitch, I'm a lover,
I'm a bitch,
child,
I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother.
Yeah.
you know, like all of those things. And I think we all are. I think every person has different sides to them. And like, yes, we can maintain, you know, like our polite, balanced, you know, like face that we show to the world. But ultimately, we are human and we have all those different sides to us, different emotions, and we express them in a different way. And our voice will sound a little different and our face will take a different shape. You know, like there's like different sides of us that come out to say hi.
Yeah.
Well said.
That's
Well
fantastic.
said. So, Tatiana, I want to thank you again for being able to join us to take part in our virtual convention. And I know it's been enjoyable for us, and it's going to be enjoyable for our viewers to hear your perspectives. Where can people see you? Where can people find you?
You can find me online. You can find me on YouTube. Search for Tatiana Neva, and I come up. Usually I go by the real Tatiana Neva.
Okay.
But just search for Tatiana Neva. Like all of my handles will come up. I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Oh, TikTok was my recent passion. I've been doing a lot of silly stuff on there.
Okay.
And you can also find me in projects like Bat in the Sun, Super Power Beatdown. You can find me truly in this Heroes with Issues. And I just, before we say goodbye, I just want to say to everybody out there stuck at home, and you know, like I know a lot of people have like a little bit of an anxiety about what's going on right now. You guys, don't worry. Humanity existed for centuries. We're still around. We made it through things worse than that. Like my family specifically made it through things worse than this. So just use this time, okay? Use this time, because action is what defeats anxiety. Action is what defeats fear and doubts. And ultimately, the reason why a lot of people feel anxiety is because they feel like they are stuck and they can't take any action. But you can. You can do all of those things that you always wanted to do that you could never do because you didn't have the time. Right now, you have the time, which is such a precious commodity. You all of a sudden don't have to go anywhere because the world is waiting for you to figure stuff out. You know, like you can do your own thing right now from the comfort of your own home. Study, read, journal, like learn about yourself. How many of us know who we are? Not many. And I study myself all the time and I always find something new. You can do so much growing right now. If you never meditated, this is a good time to check out how to do that. If you're still smoking cigarettes, now is the time to quit because there's no bad influences around you. Like I would suggest stay away from anything toxic because it's going to weaken you, and try to balance yourself as much as possible, give yourself as much love as possible, and be supportive of the people around you as much as you possibly can. If you need to take time for yourself, do it. If you feel like communicating, luckily we still have social media, we still have our phones. You know, we are at the time where being stuck at home doesn't suck so bad. So you guys hang in there, okay?
Well said. Well said. Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been the lovely and ever talented Tatiana Neva. Thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to having an interview with you again in the future, preferably without a poltergeist. But this has been lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's been fun. Welcome to the club until now.
Bye-bye. So everyone, that has been our marathon. That is that closes out the Just Us Nerds panel of power. So we hope that you've enjoyed it. We hope that you stay on for the remainder of the 2020 CyberCon. Just to echo or add on to some of Tatiana's statements, don't forget to wash your hands, maintain a safe social distance, stay home when you can. We can beat this if we stand together, even alone. I'm Jay. This has been Jay and Chris, and you've been listening to the Just Us Nerds podcast at the 2020 CyberCon. Thank you for listening so much. Good luck and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye now.